Yo, what it do? It's your boy No Name. Let's get right into it. So, I want to talk to y'all a little bit more about like trade and SSF. And I've done this talk before some amount of months ago, but I think I've got better perspective on allowing myself to talk about this. And I think y'all need to hear it because I'm gonna just I'm gonna just put it to y'all, right? Like this has been bothering me for forever. I was thinking about it last night before I woke up this morning. I was like, you know what? It's time. I'm talking about it again, which is that trade and SSF are not exclusive ways to play the game. Let me repeat that. Trade and SSF are not exclusive ways to play the game. Like being a trade player or being an SSF player does not make you good at the game. You, in fact, get better at the game by being able to play in both environments. You learn a lot about the game from playing in both environments. And I'm going to elaborate on that. But before I do, if you like these type of videos, if you like what I do here, liking the video really helps me, lets me know that you liked this video so I can continue to make more. Or subscribing to the channel so I know that you just like what I do, and that way you get to see more of what I do. Now, let's roll through this thought with me. Stay with me. It's going to be a bit of a wild one. The main thing that really arises this concern for me every time that I think about it is just how much better at the game I get as I start to flip between game modes. For a reference point, I started the game in Synthesis League, and going all the way up until mid-Harvest League, I had never played any format of the game besides trade. And I was pretty good in trade, as in starting with my first league, I was already killing all endgame content and making strong characters, learning how to make builds, learning how to trade for currency, learning how to profit craft, etc. And you get all these skills in trade, and it makes you think you're hot. Like, it made me think, I'm not shit, I'm pretty good at the game. Going into Harvest League, I did it yet again, made a very successful league starter, had a fantastic league, all of that stuff. And then I got bored midway through the league and heard about this event, BPL, which pretty sure you guys have heard of at this point, but this was its first rendition back in Harvest, and I tried it. And it was the first time where I really realized that the understanding of what's playable in SSF versus what's playable in trade exists for a reason. And it wasn't that my build didn't work in SSF, but I understood immediately why people said it wouldn't work. For context, in that league, I shot Deadeye in the said private league. Like, I started it. No reroll, no weird thing. No, just I shot Deadeye off rip, and I did very well with it. At no point was I ever really struggling, but it's because I had to take time to study how to progress it in an environment where I don't have a trade site full of infinite resources to look over. That was a very important part of the preparation and planning that went into playing it that time. And that's about when I started to realize that there's more to this game than just opening up the trade site and going ham, right? And so now, ever since then, I've played BPL, I've played not BP, I've played trade, I've played SSF, I played group found leagues with my friends, like whatever it may be. I go back and forth between modes because they all exercise a different part of my understanding of the game. And that is a part of understanding that you need in yours as well. The major things that you learn are that playing in trade teaches you how to be efficient in specific items. It'll teach you a lot about how to experiment in the game. You'll get to try things out, like really cheap budget uniques. Here's one really good example. If you're looking for fizz mitigation in a build, Pyroshot Clasp is a really cheap belt almost every league. I have never looked for this item, and it had been particularly expensive unless I was looking for a good corruption on a perfect roll. And yet, it is such a strong defensive belt. That's just one idea. Or if you're playing mines and traps, like you're playing Hex Blast mines right now, like if you've seen my previous videos about it, or you've seen Ventura's videos or whatever, or, previous leagues where you play like Ice Trap, etc. These skills don't scale off of cast speed. So Dodri's Tenure is a really strong budget item that you can rely on to massively skyrocket your damage. And even in endgame POBs for like Icicle Mine, like I did 2 leagues ago, that glove was 14% of my damage before factoring in corruption implicits, which is a common glove, so getting corruption implicits on it wasn't even that hard. These are cool things that you can get really out of trade alongside learning how to experiment with juicing mechanics, right? In trade, it's really easy to say, I want to play with ritual today, go buy up all the things related to ritual and go nuts, right? Or I want to play with, maybe you want to do some weird ghost strategy that you were thinking about, buy up all the ghost stuff and play. That's what trade is for. Trade opens up your boundaries for experimentation. It lets you experiment a little bit easier with what the game has to offer, right? You experiment in trade. That's the beauty. Now let's talk about SSF. Why do I like SSF? Why do I play it so much? Why do I play group founds? Why do I play anything that's not trade really? And it's because SSF forces you to learn how to optimize with what you have. That's the difference between SSF and trade, and why both skills are important. Being able to optimize with what you have and find the cool things to experiment with, you put those two things together and it's going to end up in an incredible situation. It's how you end up with things like realizing that Hex Blast might not even really need a source of a curse on hit that badly. It's good for clearing around corners, but it explains why the Sanctum runners on Occultist Hex Blast on PoE Ninja don't run curse on hit. It's because they don't actually need it, because there are curses that are large enough to just delete the target for them, right? Like things like that are the types of things you start to experiment with and figure out like, oh, this is how that works. Because I was trying to play Hex Blast without Profane Proxy. Found out Profane Proxy is not even like a mandatory item for the build. Things like that. Or you get into things where you realize crafting is not actually all that hard when you start to just use the resources. That's another reason to play SSF. You actually use things in SSF. Value does not matter, right? It is about the loot that it will provide you, and you get forced to use the thing. You get to dodge the pressure of trade when you're considering how you play the game. And as a result, you will learn something in the process. You will find out what makes strong boxes worth paying for, why people pay so much for strong boxes league over league over league over league over league over league, right? Or you'll find out about, you'll learn how to farm out certain items. You'll be like, man, how do people get so many perfectly double corrupted lightning coils? And then you'll think about it and how to do it on your own, and you'll realize that the best method is to farm a set of the Coming Storm. It is a div card that drops in quite a few maps, like Cemetery or Colonnade or Lair, and quite a few other maps, where it then gives you a lightning coil. And if you take a character to Act 4 and turn that in, like an actual, like a new character, not your current character, but like a lower level character, and get access to Act 4, so you can turn those cards in at a lower eye level, you have a much higher chance of getting a strong double corrupt on your chest. Like these are things that you learn when you have to do things yourself, or when you're trying to figure out things in trade. And you can experiment with this both ways. You're either thinking to yourself, I need plus levels on my lightning coil in SSF, or you're thinking, I wonder how people are making these so efficiently in trade, and why do the eye levels on these look weird? I'm going to do some research about it. Either way, two different ways to learn the game, different flows for different people, but you should really incorporate both into your game. Take some time and go to SSF to relearn how to progress, right? The number of people who say, oh, I feel like I can't get anything done without trade, it's because you've never clicked currency on the items yourself. And if that offends you, wear the shoe. I'm just saying, because you need to hear that. You need to know that if you're feeling difficulties with trying to progress without trade, it's on you. You've never really clicked currency on this. You've never actually clicked the essences that you've been farming in maps forever onto your gear. You've never really sat down and thought hard about your damage and what you're missing and what you can farm to get that right. Because trade is about being efficient about the task that you already know how to do, or learning how to do a task so that you can then later on figure out how to do it more efficiently. That goes the other way, right? If you're an SSF player and you're like, I've never really learned how to min-max a character, that's what trade is for. Sometimes you just need to play with something at a top level to understand what makes it work at that top level. So you can understand that you can't just keep trimming 5-6% off of a build repeatedly, and expect it to have the same output. Because after 13 instances of minus 5%, you've taken a lot of damage off of a build, or a lot of EHP. Whatever you've taken off the build repeatedly over and over, you're going to chip away at the build's overall value. And so you have to actually see what it looks like at the top end and at the bottom end to get a better idea of how to make it work in the middle. Anyways, there's a lot more to this thought. I could really go on forever, but I don't want this to be a forever topic. I mostly wanted to do this to open a bit of a conversation as I start to lean more and more into this topic going forward, because I'm very passionate about this, as you can tell, right? And I think it's just a lesson that we all need. It was a lesson that I learned a while ago, and it has made me a substantially better player than I ever was. And I mean, I'm still getting better to this day, right? If you liked this video, again, leaving a like really helps. Comment down below If you are a one or the other player, if you started to dabble into both, or like some thoughts about why you should try one or the other, why you've left one or the other, whatever it may be, I just kind of want to see your thoughts on this topic. If you like what I do here, again, subscribing to the channel lets you see what's going on, and it lets me know that I'm on the right track, so I can continue to provide this not even high level content, but just this content for you. Additionally, if you want to see more of what I do besides just here, I do have a Twitch. I'm not streaming as much right now, but when I am live, you can follow to find out when that's happening. But if you really want to see me, my Discord is down below as well as my Twitch. The Discord is where I tend to be active at the most, whether it be in voice or literally just in text chat. You can reach me pretty easily. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.